Who we become isn't determined by a single event or one grand decision. It's shaped by what we choose to do every single day. That's the simple but powerful truth at the core of growth. The decisions you make daily, the mindset you bring, the habits you reinforce, the priorities you choose. These aren't just checklists. They're signals to yourself and to the world about who you are and who you're becoming. If you want to lead yourself toward meaningful progress, it begins with a commitment to work on a few key areas every day. Not once a year, not when it's convenient, but every day, because daily focus is what defines long-term identity. Most people overestimate what they can do in a short burst, and underestimate what they can accomplish over time with sustained effort. But if you look at anyone who's consistently grown, whether as a leader, a creator, an innovator, or simply as a human being, it's not luck that moved them forward. It's structure, it's rhythm, it's the non-negotiable discipline of working on the fundamentals daily. You don't become mentally resilient by reading one book. You don't build strong relationships by sending one message of appreciation. You don't gain clarity of purpose by taking one retreat. It happens in the repetition, 1 hour, one action, one choice at a time. The 6 areas we must work on daily aren't arbitrary. They're the foundations of a full, productive, and meaningful life. Your mindset, your health, your relationships, your craft or skills, how you manage your time, and how connected you are to your purpose. Each one plays a critical role. And each one builds on the others. Skip any one of them long enough, and you start to feel the imbalance. But give each one even a little daily attention, and they begin to reinforce one another. They create a system for living well. And this isn't about perfection. Life gets busy. Days are unpredictable. But when you choose to show up, when you say, today, I'm going to give even 15 minutes to improving how I think, how I move, how I connect, how I grow, you're creating a deeper sense of identity. You're reminding yourself every day of who you want to be. And over time, those repetitions create confidence. They create self-trust because you know you're not just reacting to life, you're building it. This also changes how we see time. We stop seeing our days as something to get through and start seeing them as opportunities to invest. Each moment becomes a choice between default and design, between passivity and purpose. And when you approach each day with the mindset that your identity is being built in real time, the stakes change. The way you spend your mornings, the energy you bring into conversations, the intention behind your learning, it all matters. Even more powerful is how this kind of daily focus reshapes how you lead others, because when you operate from a place of daily discipline, you bring stability. People feel that. They sense that you're not just drifting, you're grounded. And in uncertain times, that kind of presence becomes a force multiplier. You don't have to say much, your consistency does the talking. It's also important to understand that these 6 areas are not meant to be boxes to tick. They're areas to engage with. There are days when working on your mindset means simply recognizing a negative thought and choosing not to follow it. There are days when investing in your relationships means putting down your phone and giving someone your full attention. These aren't massive gestures, but they're real and they matter, because they shape who you are in the small moments, not just the big ones. And here's what's truly transformational. Once you begin doing this regularly, your self-perception changes. You stop seeing growth as something external, something to chase, and start experiencing it as something you're living. You begin to understand that the person you want to become isn't somewhere in the future. That version of you is created through what you do daily. It's not distant, it's built one decision at a time. This idea that your daily focus defines your long-term identity isn't just a productivity principle. It's a leadership principle. It's a life principle. Because at the end of the day, we don't rise to the level of our goals. We fall to the level of our systems. And when your system includes showing up each day and working on the right things, you don't need to predict your future. You're already shaping it. So if you want to know where you're going, start by looking at what you're doing every single day. We all admire progress. We talk about growth, transformation, and breakthroughs. But if we take a closer look at the people who actually move forward, who become better leaders, better thinkers, better humans, it's not because they had one extraordinary moment. It's because they did the ordinary things consistently, even when it wasn't convenient or comfortable. Real progress doesn't happen because of occasional intensity. It's built through daily intention. When you work on something with purpose every day, even in small doses, you start to build a rhythm. And rhythm has power. It takes effort and turns it into momentum. It transforms action into identity. That's what happens when you consistently invest in the things that matter. Your mindset, your health, your relationships, your skills, your use of time, your connection to purpose. Over time, you stop needing external motivation because the act of showing up becomes who you are. We often look for dramatic moments to feel like we're changing. We imagine turning points, big decisions, visible wins. But the truth is, most turning points are invisible when they happen. They look like waking up early to reflect when you could have slept in. Like choosing to read something that challenges you instead of mindlessly scrolling. Like taking 10 minutes to thank someone, even when your calendar is packed. These acts don't always feel powerful in the moment, but stack them day after day, and they begin to shift the trajectory of your life. We tend to overestimate what we can do in a burst of energy and underestimate what daily progress can do over time. One intense week of working on yourself might give you a boost, but 1 hour a day for a year, that changes you. It compounds. It rewires how you think, how you lead, how you respond to setbacks. And that kind of growth is sustainable because it's built into the fabric of your daily life. It's not about hype, it's about habit. There's also something deeply grounding about knowing you've already done the most important work of your day. Before the distractions hit, before the fire drills, before the outside world pulls at you, you've made progress on what matters. That's the value of intention. It's not just about managing your time, it's about directing your energy. It's about owning your priorities instead of reacting to everything around you. And this doesn't mean every day looks the same. Some days your progress is bold and visible. Other days it's quiet reading, thinking, journaling, listening. But every day counts. Every day you invest in those 6 things, even in small ways, you're reinforcing a message to yourself. I'm moving forward. I'm not staying still. I'm building something. It's not a race, and it's not about being perfect. In fact, one of the most powerful aspects of this mindset is that it gives you permission to be human, to keep showing up, even when you're tired, even when you're frustrated, even when you don't feel like it. Because the habit of showing up builds resilience, you stop needing everything to go right in order to move forward. You learn how to work through the mess, not avoid it. And over time, that consistency turns into trust in yourself. That's one of the greatest outcomes of daily intention. You begin to believe in your ability to follow through, not just on the good days, but on the hard ones too. That belief shows up in how you speak, how you lead, how you carry yourself. It becomes the foundation for confidence, not the kind that's loud and performative, but the kind that's rooted in evidence. Evidence that you've done the work day after day when nobody was watching. We live in a culture that often rewards the appearance of effort more than the depth of it. But real progress doesn't shout. It builds quietly, layer by layer. You don't always see it right away, but then one day you look up and the work has transformed you. The way you think has changed. The way you lead is more thoughtful. The way you respond to challenge is more calm, more grounded. That's the reward of intention practiced daily. You don't just get better at what you do. You become better at being who you are. And this is what makes daily intention so powerful. It frees you from needing everything to happen overnight. It shifts your focus from outcomes to process, from speed to direction. You begin to realize that the goal isn't to finish fast. It's to keep showing up for what matters most, over and over again. Because that's where lasting progress is made. So the question isn't, what will I achieve today? The question is, what will I move forward today, even by just one step? Because over time, those steps become the path. We often talk about balance as if it's a destination, a place you arrive at once everything is finally under control. But the reality is, balance isn't something you achieve once and for all. It's something you navigate day by day. It's not about doing everything at once. It's about being deliberate with your attention and energy and knowing that what you prioritize today sets the tone for what follows. Especially when you're working across 6 essential areas: mindset, health, relationships, skills, time, and purpose, you quickly realize you can't give 100% to all of them at the same time, every single day. But what you can do is show up with intention and make sure none of them are being ignored. What throws most people off course isn't that they lack ambition. It's that they try to do too much at once. They set expectations that every area of life needs to be perfectly managed all the time. But that's not how life works. Life moves in seasons, in cycles, and trying to force balance in every moment often leads to burnout rather than breakthrough. The better approach, the sustainable one, is to accept that not everything can be your top priority at the same time. But over time, you can give each area its due. One of the most practical ways to create this kind of dynamic balance is through daily awareness. Taking a few minutes each day to check in. Where did I put my energy today? What got my focus? What might need a little more attention tomorrow? When you start asking those kinds of questions regularly, you begin to notice the patterns. Maybe you've been pushing hard on your craft and your skills, but your relationships are taking a backseat. Or maybe your calendar is full, but your health is quietly being neglected. That self-awareness is what keeps you from drifting. And it's not about judgment, it's about course correction. And the beauty of daily work is that it allows you to make those adjustments in real time. You don't have to wait for a crisis to realize you've gone off track. When you commit to working on these 6 areas every day, you're building a system that is always pulling you back into alignment. Some days, that might mean spending more time developing your skills. Other days, it means prioritizing rest, or a walk with someone you care about, or a few minutes of quiet reflection. That kind of balance isn't rigid, it's responsive. This is especially important in leadership, because if we don't model this balance ourselves, we can't expect others to follow. If all we ever show is intensity and output, people will feel pressure to burn out just to keep up. But if we show that we make time for reflection, that we value relationships, that we take care of our health, we give permission for others to do the same. That's not weakness, that's wisdom. It's a long-term mindset that values sustainability over short bursts of intensity. And when you start practicing this approach, something else happens. You become more present because you're not constantly thinking about all the things you're not doing. You're focused on what matters right now. And that presence, whether you're in a meeting with your family, learning something new, or taking time for yourself, that presence is what deepens the impact of your actions. It's not about quantity, it's about quality, it's about attention. Over time, this kind of balance builds a deeper kind of strength. You stop chasing other people's definitions of success. You start making decisions based on your own values. You realize that progress in one area isn't worth it if it comes at the cost of everything else. Because real success doesn't look like being exceptional in one domain and exhausted in all the others. It looks like being steady, whole, grounded. That's why we need to stop thinking of balance as symmetry and start thinking of it as alignment. Some days will be heavy on focus, others on family, some on health, some on rest, some on building. But as long as you're keeping all 6 areas in view and making intentional choices, you're not off track. You're living in rhythm, and rhythm is far more powerful than perfection. The world moves fast. It's tempting to chase everything. But the real mastery is in knowing what to say yes to and when. That discipline of choosing what matters today while keeping an eye on the whole gives you clarity. It gives you stamina, and it ensures that even when life pulls you in different directions, you remain centered. Because at the end of the day, the goal isn't to do everything. It's to do the right things at the right time for the right reasons. There's a kind of quiet power in small wins. We often overlook them because they don't make headlines. They're not the kind of thing people post about or announce. But in reality, those small daily victories are what shape lasting momentum. They create the forward motion that turns potential into performance, effort into evolution. When you commit to working on the 6 most essential areas of your life: mindset, health, relationships, skills, time, and purpose, what you're really doing is giving yourself 6 opportunities every day to earn those wins. They don't have to be huge. In fact, they rarely are. But they matter deeply. What makes small wins so powerful is that they are attainable. They're within reach, and because of that, they build trust with yourself. You start to see that you're not just waiting on some future breakthrough. You're already progressing. When you wake up and invest even 10 minutes in your mindset, you're not just reading a quote or journaling. You're reinforcing a belief that your inner world matters. When you take a walk, eat better, or stretch, you're reminding yourself that your health is worth protecting. These actions might not look dramatic from the outside, but internally they're defining. And it's not just about what you're doing. It's about what those actions represent. A small win is a signal. It says, I'm still in the game. I haven't quit on myself. That mindset becomes especially powerful on days when motivation is low or challenges are high. Because when you've built a habit of collecting those daily wins, you no longer need everything to go right in order to move forward. You've trained yourself to keep moving even when the path is unclear. One of the most overlooked truths about personal growth is that momentum is more valuable than speed. You can move fast and still be going in circles. But if you've built momentum, even your slow days have purpose. And that's what daily work in these 6 areas gives you. It creates a sense of continuity, a feeling that even when the world around you is unpredictable, you are still moving forward. You're still building. That steadiness becomes your anchor, and the compound effect of those small wins is extraordinary. One thoughtful conversation improves a relationship. 1 hour of deep focus sharpens your skills. One act of kindness reminds you of your value. It doesn't take much to move the needle, but it does take consistency. And the beautiful thing is, when you consistently show up for these moments, they begin to multiply. A single decision to act with intention leads to a better outcome, which leads to more energy, which leads to greater confidence, and the cycle continues. That's how momentum grows. Another advantage of this approach is that it shifts your focus from outcome to process. Instead of waiting for big results to feel successful, you learn to feel successful in the act of showing up. And that shift is incredibly empowering, because outcomes are often outside your control: timing, circumstances, other people. But your effort, your discipline, your choices, those belong to you. And when you can link your identity to the process instead of the result, you build a kind of resilience that's hard to shake. This applies to leadership as well. People don't just follow your words. They follow your energy. They sense your rhythm. If you show up every day with intention, if you model consistency and momentum, you give others permission to do the same. You create a culture where progress is celebrated, even if it's not flashy, where effort is respected, where excellence is built into the daily routine, not just reserved for special moments. And just as important, this mindset brings joy back into the journey, because you're no longer waiting to arrive at some finish line to feel a sense of accomplishment. You're experiencing it as you go. That sense of purpose, of growth, of alignment, it's available now. It's found in the small things: how you begin your day, how you connect with others, how you respond when things don't go as planned. Every one of those is a chance to win quietly, intentionally, meaningfully. What often holds people back is the belief that change has to be dramatic to be real. But that belief keeps them stuck. The truth is, change is built in tiny increments. You become who you want to be, not in one leap, but through thousands of small, deliberate steps. And the only way to take those steps is to show up for them, day after day. That's where confidence comes from. That's where clarity is forged. That's how momentum is earned. Because at the end of the day, the path forward is always built one small win at a time.